Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents The Corner Bookstore, hosted by Red O'Loughlin. Step into a world where every story inspires. These pages come to life through the voices of authors from around the globe. Written by our global community of TV show hosts and best-selling authors, these works span genres, generations, and geographies, united by the power of storytelling. Discover your next favorite book and meet the minds behind the work. Thursdays, only on USA Global TV and Radio.
Howdy, y'all. Red O'Loughlin here. We're on the Corner Bookstore on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. This is the beginning of 3 shows back to back to back today on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And when I'm not doing TV shows, I research the human body at the cellular level, chemically speaking, biologically speaking. I look for cause and effect relationships. I look at if you're going to treat a problem, you need to really treat the cause, not just the symptom. So I try to focus on what you can do to help yourself and also be aware of what you can do to make things worsen. I consider myself more nowadays of an author of a decision support manual for aging, because most of my stuff is based on longevity, age-related issues. So that's what I do when I'm not here on TV. And the last show that I'm going to be doing today at 1 o'clock Central Time is called Talking Heads, and I'm going into a new book that I'm writing on aging, and it's going to bring into account all of the aspects of disease, aging, and health. So that is about me. Now let's get to our author today. Samantha Tschritter is a multi-award-winning author. She writes both fiction and nonfiction and poetry. She's contributed to over 40 books. She's, I guess, probably very well known for grief and loss. Samantha, please join me up here on stage.
Hey there, Red. Hey, guys. Thanks for having me today.
Beautiful smile there, by the way.
Thanks.
You've been practicing that for a while, haven't you?
You know, when these shows come on, I just put it right there. And I mean, it's natural and normal. Then I have to remind myself, okay, you can relax a little bit afterward.
How long you've been writing, and then when did you convert to becoming an author?
Right. Well, I wrote a poem in 3rd grade in about 5 minutes that won first place award. And I didn't try very hard at that poem, but I didn't know I was a writer then. I wrote my first book in 2010, and I had several books on Amazon that I'd contributed to, co-authored, things like that. When my friends were like, people don't just write books for fun, right? Like you're an author, that, right? And so that's when I started owning it, was probably 2010, 2012, somewhere in there.
The first book I co-authored with somebody, it's 57 of us. And so it's just like I had my 3 pages in there. Thank you very much. I'm just, I'm published.
Right.
It was great.
Yeah.
So,
Did you call yourself an author then, though?
I didn't with that one. No, I just said I was part of that book. I could, as you say, contributed.
Right. So I did a lot of that too. I was like, oh, I just, I wrote a chapter for this book. I wrote a chapter for that book. And I don't know, but I'm an author. I am an author.
And so when you wrote your first book in 2010, what was that experience like then versus what you're doing today?
Writing craft is much different. Let me tell you, when I wrote my first book, it was Love Letters to Miscarriage Moms, the first version. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was writing, it was cathartic for me because I'd experienced a couple miscarriages and I wanted to share my experiences with other women. My goal was to write the book in the midst of my grief so that they would not be alone in theirs. And so I just wrote, I poured it out of my heart. I really didn't understand what passive verbs were, the was, the were, the had been, verbing. I just, so my writing craft when I first started is vastly different from what my writing craft is now. I've definitely improved in the last 15 years.
How long did it take you to write the first book?
Several months. I was pouring out my heart. So I started that one in October, and I think I finished writing it in like February or March of the following year. But then editing is different. Editing took a whole nother year to get through and make sure there were no typos and punctuation errors and things like that.
Now, your book, as you said, Love Letters to Miscarried Moms. You won a Christian Writers Award for that?
Yeah, so Love Letters to Miscarriage Moms is the new version, and that's the one that won the award. It's right here. It's this blue cover. And we added a bunch of stuff with the new version that came out. It was because someone picked it up in 2022, a publisher did. And so we revamped it. I had a chance to keep the content, but improve the craft of the book. So that was exciting. And then we included things like stillbirth and early infant loss, infertility, adoption, other issues that moms face beyond just miscarriage. So that was pretty great. And then there's also there are letters from parents of loss to parents of loss. I don't know if you can see that. And there's some journal space in there. Oh, that's just turning out white. There's journal space in the margins, everyone. I promise. So that book was crafted really well. And I submitted it in 2023 for the Golden Scroll Christian Book of the Year. And it won second place. So that was a huge honor.
Do you also talk about in vitro?
A little bit, but not a whole lot. And I also avoided the topic of abortion, not because I didn't try to talk about that, but it's very political, and I didn't want to be political in the book. And then also, I have not experienced an abortion myself, so when I tried to write about it, it didn't work. I was not honoring that community well enough. So.
Good friend of mine we used to work together out in California. He and his wife flew into Texas, and they got an in vitro. And today their son is a graduate of the Naval Academy and out somewhere in the world doing whatever he loves doing. So that's the only in vitro story that I know. I'm sure there are other people out there that haven't had success or not. But that's the one that I had a close experience because they spent the night with us. We drove them to the military hospital for the procedure and stuff. So it was kind of we were in the very, very beginning, so to speak.
A lot of women who are infertile end up doing IVF. So we talk about infertility in the book a lot, but not IVF specifically.
Okay. You mentioned editing. How is your editing nowadays versus 15 years ago?
15 years ago, I asked a friend with an English degree to edit my book for me, and she's really great at the punctuation stuff. A couple of years ago, when I was editing The Prodigal Son, not a couple of years ago, last year, when I was editing The Prodigal Son, I hired a professional award-winning editor because I wanted the book to be fantastic. So you have to pay money in order to get a really good editor. But for me, it was worth it because it makes the book more readable, in my opinion. and makes people want to keep reading and not set it down. So those compliments are worth the money I paid for a professional editor.
So when you're paying for a professional editor today, what are you looking for? You said the person was award winning. But when you started looking out, we just editors, or how did you end up? Friend of a friend?
We met at a writers conference, which is one of the best things that a writer can do for themselves, for their career, because you make hundreds and hundreds of connections with people. But this person, Larry Leach, is the one who edited my book. He did a great job, and he looked at not just like periods and punctuation, but sentence structure, and he helped me like tighten it and make it sound better. And then he was reading it, and he was like, "Sam, this is your last sentence right here. This is it right here." He's like, "These last 4,000 words, you can create an epilogue out of that if you want, but this is your last sentence."
Wow.
So he did it was a dynamic edit. It's not, a developmental edit, as well as the punctuation, grammar, line edit stuff.
That's really interesting.
I want to tell you guys what the last line is, but I don't want to spoil it. So you just have to buy the book.
Did you write an epilogue, or was that the end of the book right there?
I did write an epilogue so the epilogue is my late husband's celebration of life service. And the epilogue explains the title for the book and where that comes from, and shows a lot of healing that took place. And he had a lot of shame. He battled a lot of shame because he was a pastor who relapsed into alcohol and got in a drunk driving accident. So it was a very public scandal. And I contrast the shame that he felt versus the 460 people who showed up for his celebration of life service, to show how many people loved him and appreciated him and believed in him and were grateful for him. And I think he would have been surprised by the number of people who were there, but he was so well loved. And so that contrast is there in the book. It's like him understanding, like, oh, these people are here because they love me. They know all about me and they love me anyway. And that was a huge learning piece for him when he was battling his shame of addiction.
How long were you all married?
15 years. 15 years, 3 daughters, and a lot of ministry. Like I said, he was a pastor. So he was a pastor for several years, and he was in youth ministry, and we just did a lot of life together.
When you wrote your first book, it took you a while, took you longer to get it edited. When did you start marketing it?
Which book? The Prodigal Son?
No, the very, very first one.
Very first one. I didn't know much about marketing. I didn't really understand that process. And so that book did really well because the message was great and because women needed it. And it was one of the first books on the market, I think, regarding miscarriage. And just the idea that it was written like from a friend perspective, that was some of the feedback I actually got from people. Is like, it feels like I am sitting with a friend while I'm reading this book and while I'm experiencing my miscarriage, which is a high compliment. But I posted things on Facebook, and I tried my best, but I really didn't understand what I was doing back then.
Okay, so move to today, the current book that you're doing. How is that marketing process going along?
Fabulous. It's been amazing. I hired a publicist, Mickey Mickelson, and he's doing a great job. I have zero regrets. He is in my corner, and I'm getting all sorts of podcast interviews and book reviews, and he's lining up all sorts of stuff for me. He called me a marketing bomb. I was like, is that good or bad? He's like, a marketing bomb in a good way. I was like, okay, all right. I'll just do the things that you signed me up for. So that's where we're at.
Are you still doing your own stuff in addition to his things?
I have social media all over. I'm on TikTok and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. I have a Facebook account for The Lakeshore Secret, which is actually a debut novel that's coming out sometime this year. And I have a YouTube channel that's just me, S.E. Tschritter, grief oriented. And I have addiction _ unedited and writing _ unedited. So I'm all over the place. I'm all over the place. And I post all the things that I'm doing, like all these interviews and things, posting those.
So how much time during your day are you devoting to being an author?
Well, overall, so writing, I've been able to write about 2 to 3 hours a day, and then I spend time, doing these interviews or marketing and things like that, checking emails and stuff. But on a good day, I get to write 4 or 5 hours a day. I love writing. It doesn't feel like a chore to me at all. I love what I do, and it's amazing to build stories and put them together.
Just basic Microsoft Word?
Scrivener. I use Microsoft Word sometimes, but I also use Scrivener. Have you heard of that one?
I used Scrivener about 10 years ago. I was beginning author, had a book or two at that time, and I found it of use primarily for being able to convert the book from one format to another. Particularly at that point in time, they wanted a specific kind of format for ebooks and whatever. And so I used it, not necessarily so much because I write nonfiction. I didn't have a need for locations and characters and a lot of other things so I wasn't really using as much of the power of that particular software that a fiction writer might, or a novelist or somebody else that has a much more involved, but I did use it for maybe about 3 years.
I love the program. I've figured out a lot of different features it has that I appreciate. Even with Prodigal Son, I started it in there because you have that whole chapter list on the side. So then if you're looking for content that you need to edit, you can just click on the chapter and go to that space instead of having to scroll and scroll and scroll, which felt really great. And then I love the target word count. You get to plug in how many words you want a chapter to be, and it shows you how close you are. And then being able to write notes and stuff. So I love Scrivener. It's a lot of fun for me to use.
Yeah, a little difficult to transition and be decent at it, I found. But again, after about a year, I could go in and have some comfort level, but I was never really comfortable.
Some people it doesn't work for everyone, and that is okay. You have to find what works for you and double down on that part. So,
and I think I had a MacBook Pro or something. I had both Mac and I had the other. So I had both kinds of systems going, and that sometimes was confusing too. And one would allow it, one wouldn't allow it. I just decided, okay, everything's going to Microsoft Word.
I tried to use Mac because I have an iPhone, and I couldn't convert. I've been on a PC for way too long with Windows. I was like, nope, we're just going to stay here. But Scrivener has the program for either one, so it works.
And I think when I had it, they didn't have it for either one. That was part of the problem also at that time. It's been quite a while. But audiobooks, where do you stand on that?
I hired an audio, that's not what she's called. I was going to say I hired an audio recorder. That's not the right word. I hired a voice actress to read The Prodigal Son, and so that will come out sometime this year. It'll be ready in May, so it's up to me to choose the release date anytime after that. But yeah, so she's going to do it for me. There are a lot of people who read books while they're driving or cleaning the kitchen or doing laundry. And so I really want, especially The Prodigal Son, because it's such a powerful story, I want that to be accessible to as many people as possible.
Okay, we're coming up on a break here shortly. A real quick question. Do you use AI very much in your writing?
Not for writing. Writing is all me. I'll use it for images or help me write the description for my YouTube video link, things like that. But I do not use it in the writing process itself.
Okay. When we come back from the break, which is literally here, I want to talk about, are you planning any books in foreign languages? So I'll let that kind of resonate with you for a few minutes, and we'll be back here very, very shortly.
In a world craving connection, one platform dared to dream bigger. USA Global TV and Radio, a beacon for global voices, authentic storytelling, and elevated listening. Led by visionary Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the journey from a spark to a global force is now captured in one inspiring book. Honored with YouTube's Silver Creator Award for surpassing 100,000 subscribers. Discover the evolution, the challenges, the triumphs, and the unstoppable spirit that created a global movement. Executive producer Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang. Creative director Paul Garcia. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication, or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited. Now an Amazon #1 new release in paperback and ebook. Broadcasting Brilliance, the evolution of USA Global TV and Radio, is inspiring readers around the world. Join the movement that's redefining global media one story at a time.
Welcome back, y'all. Red Laughlin here. We're on the Corner Bookstore on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. Our guest author today is Samantha Tschritter. Samantha, please join us back up here on stage.
Thanks for having me, Red. It's nice to see you again.
Okay, we left the break and you said you have, I just want to get some clarity on the audiobook. You have one book that's getting ready to go into audio, or do you have any other ones done?
I do not have any other audiobooks because it costs a lot of money, and I'm an independent author. It's for the Prodigal Son is independent. So there's just a lot of behind the scenes that goes into creating an audiobook, and it's a lot harder than people think. I only have The Prodigal Son, which that one is not out yet, but it will be later this year. So I believe in audiobooks, and I wish I could make every single book an audiobook. But you kind of have to pick and choose. At least I do.
I noticed in the last couple, 3 months before Christmas that KDP Amazon now has an option on your author account to use AI for an audiobook. I know you said you didn't want that, but this is not creating the intellectual property. This is actually, if you wanted to have a female with an Irish accent or whatever, it kind of fits into wherever it is. And I think that particular part of AI is actually becoming very, very popular. In fact, I know some of the software out there now, you just tell it a story and it creates a movie. It doesn't even just give you a book. So I think the advances in AI are pretty exciting, but I have not taken advantage of it yet. It's something I'm still looking at, but I'm probably going to convert some of my books, just at least one or two, just to see what's the quality, what kind of marketing I can do with it, et cetera. But that's just something I'm going to do.
What they do with the AI audio is amazing. I actually downloaded a program and I was getting ready to work with it. Basically, you just cut and paste, and then the AI person reads your content for you, which is outstanding. However, when I had a couple of readers listen to it, they weren't really impressed. Like, it was great, but they could also hear where a human would make a different, like put the inflection in a different place. So I think the AI, like those readers, are a phenomenal option. It's obvious it's going to be a lot less money, but nothing will beat the real thing either. So you kind of have to. I've also heard of authors reading their own books and doing it that way.
That was my original plan way back when. I did a CD on my first book, but I haven't done any of that since. Now, you absolutely are correct on the inflections and everything. But I noticed that some of the professional readers that you listen to, and they have millions of sales on whatever book it is, they may be able to do a half a dozen to a dozen German or French accents, that just switch off within the same genre of French. You have and I am bewildered that they have the ability to do that.
Yeah, I was going to read it myself, and again, this came from a writers conference connection. She was like, here, tell me about your project. Let's see if we can work together on this. And so we did. We are working on it together, which is fabulous. I'm excited.
Getting back to the pre-break, I said, let's talk about foreign languages. Do you have any intention of putting your books into foreign languages?
Down the line, I would love to do that. It's not something that you just want to take the text and like throw it into Google Translate and say, okay, I'm done, I finished it. Because there are a lot of colloquial things that people say that don't translate word for word. Like for instance, in Spanish, we say, "Oh, stop pulling my leg," but the Spanish version of that is "Don't take my hair." It's the same thing, but it's different. And so I would be afraid to offend people or like get the wording wrong if I just, hit Google Translate and tried to do it myself. So I would actually find someone who speaks that language and pay them to translate it line by line.
Several years ago, I had connections on LinkedIn with a couple of the translators in various places, and they charge more than an arm and a leg and a piece of hair. I'll tell you
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
And now I noticed here last year that Fiverr.com, which I use a lot for my clients, I publish books. I use a lot of that for their covers. They have now native speakers, Italian, Spanish, French, German, whatever, that have translated dozens of books, and they just do it on strictly a word count. Boom, it's 3,000 words. It's whatever, it's a set price. And I
Right. And then you know how much it's going to be, which is fantastic.
know
Right.
exactly what it's going to be in advance. And I said, whoa, that, and the price is reasonable. It's not way far out there. I mean, it's something, I could get that into a budget without too much problem. And so that's in the back of my mind to start looking at that down the road, because it's something that I want to do.
If you had to pick one book to translate into a different language, which would be your first choice?
Well, right now I'm concentrating on a particular book of mine called the total blank. Joy of Ageless Health.
Okay.
And I would probably do that one initially in Chinese.
Oh, okay. Why
Uh,
Chinese?
because it's a much bigger audience and they have a much closer affinity to health. And the word joy there's certain words that kind of connect. It's like in the Eastern deal, you don't use the word or the number 4 for anything if you can avoid it. Because, if you go ichi, ni, san, chi in Japanese, chi is very close to death. And so you have to, you got to be careful, as you say, pull your leg. There's certain little things there that you can't find a 4-pack of anything in Japan. So because that's just against the culture.
Okay.
Now,
That's
when you put your
interesting because most of our stuff is in 4-packs.
but when you put your book in there, for $14.99, it's not necessarily negative, but it's the numbers there. It's kind of in the back of the mind. I tried to set 1788 because 7s and 8s are very good numbers, for an Asian culture, because there's a lot of goodness associated with those things. So, but again, that's a different animal entirely, because of what I write in is literally almost all longevity, age-related stuff.
Research is important because one of the things I'm learning about the writing world and the publishing industry is that you don't know what you don't know. My first writers conference, I went in there knowing that Love Letters to Miscarriage Moms was going to be an award-winning book, a bestseller, and make the New York Times right away. And I learned a lot when I sat down across from the editors and the publishers. So there's a lot that you don't know until you start getting into it, which can be discouraging. But I think it's like the greatest advice I've ever heard from someone was from Terry Whalen, who said, "The ones who make it are the ones who don't quit." And so I just keep that with me. If I don't quit, it's going to get better and better.
Yeah, the last one I went to was the very first 6 months of COVID, and half the people never showed up. And so, but here in about 4 weeks, I'm going to be on a writer's cruise out of Miami, and I'm looking very, very, very forward to that one. So it's my first time to get in we've had little gaggles here in Houston, but you only have 10 or 15 people, 25 at the most, and they're all authors. They're not publishers. Might have an editor or two, but I'm kind of looking now because this is supposed to be the entire gambit of the book industry. So I'm really looking forward to that.
That sounds fabulous, actually. Like being on a cruise with other writing professionals. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. I've been all over the world with the military, but last year was my wife and I, first year going on a cruise ever, and we really enjoyed it. So this one's going to be our second one, and just getting real hyped up for it right now. Just almost there. We're still buying clothes for the trip and things like that. So
Love it. It's amazing.
Covers. You have all sorts of covers. You have a couple, 3 books there. You can kind of hold up one at a time.
Sure.
Okay, that's the one that you're, okay. How did you get the cover done?
The publisher for this one, because this was traditionally published, so she designed the cover and she chose the blues and pinks because they're eye-catching and they will stand out on the white Amazon background. And this is actually an old version. We changed the font on this because it was hard to read the love letter. It was hard to read Miscarriage and Moms. So we changed the font on that one. This one I self-published, independently published. It's backwards. And I kind of designed it myself, but then I gave it to a cover artist and I said, fix it. And she made it much better. This one is really cool because it says journal by. So the person who writes the journal gets to write their name there and they become the author of this journal, which is amazing. Not really. Yeah. And so then here there are prompts in there that, there we go. Okay. So you pick the prompt at the beginning and then you write the prompt. And so you choose your own adventure basically with what you want to talk about in that journal. And then prayers against addiction. Again, I kind of designed it myself and then gave it to someone to make it better. So then these two, Prodigal Son and Prayers Against Addiction, are part of the same series. And they look really good together on purpose. So that's what that is. And
they're dark colors, and they're dark colors too, which goes along with the theme.
Right, the dark and the light, and stepping from darkness into light. I thought through that one a lot. Someone said it was too dark, and I was like, yeah, that's the whole point. Like people living in darkness and stepping toward hope and healing. This cover. This is a book of poems that I wrote over time. I have some COVID limericks in here if I can find them. Let's see if I can find those. Let me see. Are you okay if I read a limerick to you?
Go for it.
All right. Congrats to the class of 2020. Pomp and circumstance may look a bit funny. You spent your prom dancing with mom. 3 cheers to the class of 2020. The hungry little virus ate Saturday, Sunday, Monday, March, April, May. With a big fat belch, the little whelp ate every day save Corn Day. So there's humorous poems in here too, but this is a collection of poems depicting grief and loss, hope and healing. And people purchase this. Like when someone experiences a loss and you don't know what to say or do, this book makes a great option to give them as a gift. Like, I'm thinking about you. I love you. My prayers are with you type thing. So those, and I was going to tell you, okay, so this statue, I just have to kind of brag about this because my mom created this statue. And my sister typeset, she's my typesetter, graphic designer. That's her degree and what she does for a living. But the statue is all throughout the book and like different angles of it. So she makes cameo appearances on each of the part, like this is part 3. And you can see right there, the statue there, a different angle of her. So we basically set the statue up as a model and took pictures of her at different angles and then put them throughout the book, which is, and it's kind of fun. I think it's fun.
It's more than fun.
Yeah.
It's more than fun. You have a young YA fantasy, young adult fantasy series, Athenian Chronicles or something.
The Athenian Chronicles. Yeah, that was my NaNoWriMo project for forever, for like 5 different years. I have 3 or 4 of those books finished, and my goal is to publish them. Right now I'm working on the 2nd book for the romantic suspense that's getting published this year. I want to finish writing that series, and then I'm going to double down and finish writing the Athenian Chronicles. That one as well was written earlier in my writing career, so I'm a little bit afraid to pick it up and go through it because I'm going to have to do a pretty hard edit on myself. But I love that story. It's basically the idea came when I lost 3 children, when I experienced 3 miscarriages, because I have 3 babies on earth and 3 babies in heaven. And so I pictured a world in which all 6 children could be together. So it's kind of Narnian-esque in that there are 2 different parallel worlds, and then these kids come together and fight the villain and save the world. The That's how that works.
Samantha, we're getting toward the end of the show. I'm going to give you a chance here in a moment to tell people how they can get your books and get in touch with you. But what lessons learned would you give us today? A couple, maybe three, for a new writer, new author that's just getting into the business of being an author. What are some of the things that you think are really important?
Writers Conference, like I said, learning how to connect with people and make those connections, learning what you don't know is really important. I would say do one thing for your craft every day, one thing that makes you feel like an author every single day. Start calling yourself an author, because you're not an aspiring author. You're an author who's working on his or her first novel. So start seeing yourself as an author and start owning that way before you have multiple books on Amazon. And don't quit.
Yeah, I have a new book coming out that I'm writing right now that I'm going to get 6 different covers off of Fiverr and then put them up on social media, A or B, B or C, because I know that my view of a book cover isn't the same thing as a reader's view. And so I got to make sure that I get some feedback so that I know, okay, that's attractive to a reader. And that's one of the things I'm doing. And I've had a couple of clients where they said, this is what I want for a cover. And I send it out to a couple Fiverr designers. I get back some copies. Okay, here's A through E. And I send it to the author and they pick, okay, they like B and C. Okay, so I go back there and I said, here's the rest of the story. Fill in, here's the context. So I've used AI and I use the Fiverr.com a lot for the creation of the book covers and other things. So, and I use it every day. I talk to my AI every day because we have a love relationship. Because I dive in so deep into a lot of topics that, and anyway, I know that errors can be made, but my prompt is about 2 pages long. And so he knows exactly what I'm looking for with regard to the kinds of, and even now he doesn't give me what I want. Now I get, what about this? Okay. Anyway, but Samantha, how do people buy your books? How do they get in touch with you?
Not going to make people spell my last name. They can go to loveunedited.com and there is a link right there at the top that says let's connect. So you can just go there. You can look at the books. My published books page, every book on that page is a clickable link. So if you click on the book, you can go see that on Amazon and read about it and purchase it if you want. I'm really grateful for everyone who's listening and Red for having me. Thank you so much. This has been amazing.
Do you have any book signings or anything like that coming up, or any speeches you're giving?
Just this one.
Okay.
And I've been doing a lot. I've been doing a lot of interviews and podcasts and things like that. So if you want to hear more about what I'm doing, just find me on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube and you'll know what's going on. And you can also sign up for the newsletter because I've been keeping people updated in that.
Okay, your Instagram account is basically what name?
SE Tschritter.
Okay.
And so is TikTok. And then for my newsletter, you can also sign up for the newsletter through Let's Connect at the top of my website. And when you sign up for the newsletter, you get the first 3 chapters of The Prodigal Son free. So you can read it and tell me what you think.
Well, fantastic. Okay, for those people interested, Love, Love, just exactly what it sounds, unedited, UNEDITED, loveunedited.com. Samantha, thank you so very, very much for today. I really enjoyed our conversation. I look forward to our next one. I really do.
Thank you so much, Red. I appreciate it. We'll talk soon, I'm sure.
I look forward
to it.
Bye,
everyone. Thank
you. Red O'Loughlin here, wrapping up the last minute on the Corner Bookstore on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. My next show is called The Wise Ones. I have a personal friend of mine, also a networking buddy. He's going to be coming on, Susan Sherrard. She's involved in a lot of different things, and we have a chance to talk to her. And then I have my program coming up just by myself called Talking Heads. And I chose a book many, many years ago, a title, didn't really choose a book I was going to write. It's called Aging Sucks. And I got a URL for it. I got this. I never did anything with it. Well, now I'm finally starting to do something. As I've been writing books and doing other things, I finally found a place to get a little bit of humor into a very serious topic of aging. And that's where I'm at right now. So I'm going to be developing that today, talking about the processes that we go through and really how much control you have that we don't think about. So that being my intro into Aging Sucks, I appreciate the audience today, and I look forward to you next hour here in about 21 minutes, or again, in an hour and 21 minutes. And if not, next week on the Corner Bookstore on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. Bye, y'all.
Ever dreamed of hosting your own TV show, sharing your story with a global audience? Now's your chance to shine. At USA Global TV and Radio, we make it easy for you to create, host, and broadcast your very own TV show. Whether you're a storyteller, entrepreneur, or industry expert, we help you bring your vision to life. With our exclusive interview, live streaming, and podcasting training, you'll gain the skills and confidence to captivate your audience. Our global platform ensures your voice is heard worldwide. Join our community of creators who are already making an impact, one show at a time. Step into the spotlight. Host your own TV show on USA Global TV and Radio. Book your discovery call today at usaglobaltv.com. Copyright 2025 USA Global TV and Radio. All rights reserved. Terms and conditions apply. To learn more, visit usaglobaltv.com. Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USAGlobalTV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dies. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.